My name is Nikhil Joshi. My day job is COO of Emergo, but I'm also a member of the board of directors of Intersect. So I think it's critical for members of the board of Intersect to find the balance between governance and pragmatism. I say that because, of course, governance is key within Intersect. Working in a decentralized ecosystem means there needs to be clarity, visibility, integrity, and for people to be held to account. But, and as we've seen with the Treasury withdrawals from this year, there is sometimes a need to push through the pragmatic edge over the principles of governance. Now, where is the push and pull on that is a very subjective question, and I think that's where a lot of time and effort is needed, where particularly members of the board are required to exercise a bit of judgment around that. So a key part of being on the board is, of course, members of the board have fiduciary duties, and that means making sure that the financial resources of Intersect are intact, and that means sometimes having a bit of a distance and an objectivity to what Intersect is doing with regards to its mandate, as opposed to wearing a pure Cardano ecosystem hat and thinking about what's good for the ecosystem. Sometimes, if everything goes well, those two things are aligned, and sometimes there may be a bit of a misalignment, and so how are those two things reconciled? I'm quite pleased that I was one of the first board members and still here. So we've had more members joining. Of course, we're going to have more members from the community joining in the next few weeks and months, which I think is great. But I'm quite pleased that at least there's been a certain level of continuity, not just myself, but other members who've now been on the board for a period of time. And I think that consistency, that continuity is good to make sure that we understand where we've come from, where we're going to, and how are we doing between those 2 points. So I would encourage people who are thinking about putting themselves forward as candidates for the board to really think about what are your expectations of what the board is here to do. This isn't a typical corporate. First of all, Intersect is a not-for-profit, but beyond that, it's a members-based organization. So what does that mean in terms of what Intersect's mandate is within Cardano? And what does that mean in terms of what the board's mandate is with regards to Intersect and the ecosystem? Now, I think that question has had perhaps variations on a theme of an answer over time. And that's not necessarily wrong. I think that's just the evolution of how it's playing out. But I do think that as candidates, one should have a pretty strong opinion of what that ought to be, so you can help shape thinking around it within the board and around the board, so that expectations are managed internally as well as externally.